are currently reading the names of some of the 3,000 victims, people who were killed at the Twin Towers 22 years ago today. Those planes began hitting the towers around this time exactly 22 years ago. President Joe Biden, he will be at a ceremony that's happening in Anchorage, Alaska, on a military base there. The First Lady is down at Ground Zero as well. We're just looking at some of the just terrifying, stark images that will be forever burned in our memories. I remember where I was 22 years ago today at this time. I had just started at Seneca College for journalism, and so we had just been in our probably second week at the time, and I lived in North York, north part of Toronto here, and didn't even realize at the time, listening to 680 News, what was really going on. It wasn't until the second plane hit that we thought, oh my goodness, this is something much more serious than we thought. And I remember getting to class, and I mean, that was one class that I'll never forget.
You even went to class?
We all went to class. We all were sitting in class just saying, trying to follow this news, and could not believe what was happening. And our professors, of course, taking this as an opportunity to not only just mourn and see what was happening, but trying to show us as journalism students that even in these times where you don't know what's going on, is terrifying. You, as a reporter, as a journalist, have to be on standby to provide whatever information that you can, as it's starting to roll in. Yeah, I mean, that's it.
I mean, the coverage that was done at that time, so skilled from those broadcasters. Mm-hmm. And I remember, too, I was at school. I was at Queen's University. I was getting ready to go to class and listening to the radio. And again, something happened. I didn't quite understand what could this possibly be. And then the second, and I too went to class, and I will never forget that day. And then there was some fear. Queen's University is in Kingston, Ontario. Both my parents were working downtown in Toronto, and I remember there was some fear. Well, could this keep going? And so there was some evacuation happening in downtown Toronto as well of those tall buildings. So I can't believe it was that many years ago.
Yeah, I think we all have similar stories in that fear. Right? I just started a new job at a radio station and didn't really know anybody there. And so I was away from my family. I was out of town. So I was away from my family, and I came into work that morning, and I'm just, hey, it's great. I'm a promotions guy. I'm just coming in, my energy. So I'm coming in like hot, and I see the look on everybody's faces. And then we saw the TVs, and I didn't have cable at the time because I was trying to make money. When I found out, though, then it was like, okay, I need to talk to everybody I know and make sure that...
You start doing the math.
Well, where else is this going to happen? And then you're seeing more and more. And they told us, just go home. Just go home, everybody. Everybody go home and be with the people that you need to be with, and check on the people you need to be with. And I just remember the fear, that feeling of fear, which I cannot imagine the people who went through it or lost somebody in this. I can't imagine that feeling. It's yeah.
My wife and I just went through the Netflix doc on this. And again, we all lived it. Mm-hmm. And I know there's some younger people watching this who don't really process what happened here. I would highly recommend you watch that, because even there's still images that I relived in that documentary, and I kept saying to myself, that happened. That was a thing that took place. And I have to give my brother Nason, who's been on the show previously, a lot. Credit's not the word, but I was working at a sports station at the time, so I was sleeping until 11 a.m. or noon. I was getting home at 4 o'clock in the morning. And he actually ran upstairs and said, you have to get up right now. And if it weren't for him, I don't know how I'd look back in the day. I feel like an idiot. But the broadcast element of that too. There was no social media in that, right? Yeah. No social media. A ticker was invented by CNN at the bottom of the screen that day, because there was so much information coming in. And the other thing I remember is just Howard Stern was never better than he was that day. Oh. I think his radio show is still on YouTube. You can still listen to it as it played out. I would highly encourage you to do that. I've never heard someone navigate something so confusing with that level of skill. There's different memories for all of us, but it's been 22 years.
Firefighters, the frontline workers, everyone who so quickly fled to that scene that day. Many people were running from it. You know, those people were running toward it. Just the level of bravery. It's absolutely something to be remembered and commemorated today.
And the amount of tragedy and devastation we all witnessed live. Live. You know, and that's something, you know, social media, people were seeing things, people are always filming stuff. No one knew what was going on. With that second plane, we all saw it. And remember that feeling, because that is...
I can feel it
right
now.
Right now,
you know,
because that's an important point. The first one kind of happened. Everyone went, "What's this?
What's going on?"
And then every news camera went, and all the morning shows went there, and they didn't really know what this was. Then number two, and then it kind of clued in as to what was really going on.
I remember being in a room with a lot of people and just silence.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. One thing I will always forget, CNN started to broadcast after the first plane went through the tower. CNN started to broadcast from a rooftop. The reporter at the time, the anchor, was Les Brown, was his name.
Yeah.
And you see the plane go through and his live reaction, just him not knowing what this was and just trying to keep as calm as possible. One of those things that I will absolutely never forget.
22 years ago today, we remember the families, the victims, everyone involved. More BT coming up after this. Stay with us.